Hello everyone, and welcome to another segment of the East Brunswick Advisory Health Council's Wellness Spotlight. East Brunswick is known as a very diverse community, rich in so many resources. One of the crown jewels of East Brunswick is our fabulous park system. They enhance wellness and the health and vitality of our community. As our special guests today, we have Tom Williams and Greg Hurley. Tom Williams is the Director of Parks and Public Works, and Greg Hurley is the Supervisor of Parks. Gentlemen, welcome to the Wellness Spotlight.
Thanks, Ken. Thanks for having us.
Thank you.
I'd like to start out with a little bit of background on each of you. Tom, why don't we start with you?
Sure. I'm, as Director of Parks and Public Works, I manage that department, which is one of the larger departments in the town, probably second to public safety. And it's a unique in a lot of ways because we provide basic services such as your solid waste collection, recycling, road maintenance, snow removal, water production, and water distribution, as well as on the other side, quality of life services that were the topic of today's discussion, and that includes the maintenance and improvements to the township's park system, our shade tree program, sports camps, the Crystal Springs Aquatic Center, and those types of things. So it's a pretty diverse group of responsibilities that we have and services that we provide to the public.
Now, I've been in town around 30 years, Tom, and as I recall, you were working here for the township before me. How long have you been in the department?
Yeah, I've been working with the town for 35 years, all of that time with the Department of Parks and Public Works, or Parks and Recreation.
Greg, how about you?
Oh, well, I've been involved in arboriculture for about 44 years. And before I came to East Brunswick, I worked for New Brunswick. And I was at a Middlesex County forestry demonstration project, and Bill Bradley was getting things together. And this is the man I sat next to. And he goes, "Would you like to work for East Brunswick?" And I said, "I certainly would." So I applied and got the job. And so 20 years later, here we are. So my background is I was a tree climber for many years. And I went to college, took forestry, went to Cook College.
You a tree climber?
Yes, I was. As big as I am.
You didn't have to climb that to get to the top.
No, but I climbed till I was around 42 years old.
Now, what does a tree climber do besides climb trees? Why are you climbing trees?
Well, to prune them, to clean out the canopy, to, sometimes take them down.
You have specialized expertise in trees also, don't you?
Right. In 1984, I became a New Jersey certified tree expert. And that's I have a license with the state as a certified tree expert. And we have certain code of ethics and certain testing we had to take at Cook College to obtain that. And then we have to do the CEUs every year. So it's continual education.
And how does being a tree expert benefit the Parks Department and the township?
Well, many of our grants that we receive and we apply for, Tom and I work with, and our secretary, Marianne, you need a certified tree expert. So we have a certified tree expert, and that comes in handy. And it's a substantial amount of grants that we obtain per year.
So,
I was going to say, and Greg has been instrumental in putting together our 5-year community forestry management plan. It's a plan that we have for maintaining our township trees as well as the trees in our public purpose areas, such as parks and the Civic Center here, as well as a certified tree expert, his expertise involving litigation that we might have involving trees or trip and falls and trees that have fallen and whatnot. So Greg has been a valuable asset to the department.
You know, I guess most people think that you plant things in the ground and you walk away and everything just kind of takes care of itself. I guess most people don't realize how much work is involved in being able to keep our parks so nice and so green.
Well, it is a lot of work, and with respect to street trees, the older the trees get and more mature they become, it seems like the more work is involved in some of these trees, and when you have to remove a tree because it is died, it's reached its useful life or disease or whatnot, removing a tree that has a diameter of 2.5 feet and that is 45 to 50, 60 feet high is an all-day project along a township road. So, you know, we went through years in the 60s and 70s where we were planting a lot of trees, but they really didn't require a lot of maintenance. They were growing. Now we're seeing, I think, as these trees mature, as they've done in some of the older towns in like North Jersey and whatnot that had active shade tree programs, you know, it's a lot more work, you know. And we see it now with some of the storms that we had recently. There's a lot of tree damage, a lot of trees that fall down, limbs that fall down, and we're out at all different hours of the night trying to clean up after a storm and whatnot.
Why does having parks benefit the community from a wellness standpoint?
Well, I think the parks offer really so much for almost everybody, every age group, every gender. We have 13 parks in town, 13 developed parks and 3 undeveloped parks. And the developed parks encompass about 400 acres, and there's another 200 acres in undeveloped parks. And all of the parks, whether they be active, have either active or passive facilities or activities in the parks. And you know, give you an example, like we maintain the baseball complex on Dunham's Corner Road. That's a pretty active park. You know, people are playing baseball, softball, girls softball, Little League, and whatnot. A lot of that active sports going on there. But there's also a passive side to that too, because you've got people coming to watch children play. You've got aunts and uncles and whole family members that come and to enjoy that experience. And they're not really getting any exercise or anything, but they're having a really enjoyable experience watching kids play ball. And it brings families together, it brings neighbors together, and so it's a real nice thing. And we have you know, other parks. For example, the Heavenly Farms, where we have 2 new turf fields there, very active with lacrosse, soccer programs, football up there. And we have passive areas, passive parks, like Frost Woods, for example. We have 147 acres of property between New Brunswick Avenue and Summerhill Road that there are undeveloped trails that go through there. And just a year or so ago, we were doing some maintenance work on a water line that we have going through there. And the trees kind of grew in, and we really have to keep that area accessible for trucks in case anything happened and we have to do any maintenance on that line. And so I was in there a couple of days while we were doing that, and I couldn't believe the number of people that I saw walking, jogging, taking their dogs for a walk. It was a whole experience, for all those folks that live and surround Frost Woods really use the park, and it was something that I didn't realize was used that much. It's basically undeveloped. And you have like Bicentennial Park, that's a combination of active use. There's tennis courts, a ball field, soccer field, handball, as well as picnic areas and natural trails that run along the Farrington Lake. So it's very, we see people out there that'll bring a blanket and read. They'll just look out onto the lake, that go fishing. So there's a lot of the parks have passive and active opportunities throughout the park system. So I think there's something for everyone. Whether or not you want to run, you want to jog, or you just want to sit on a park bench and look out on Farrington Lake and collect your thoughts. There's a lot going on.
There's a lot of wildlife in these parks, too. Do you have anything to do with the management of the wildlife in the parks as well? There's a variety of birds, I know, and I've even seen foxes running through around Farrington Lake.
In terms of managing, not so much, except that all of our parks are governed by ordinances that prohibit and protect wildlife by township ordinance. But we also work very closely with the Environmental Commission, Rich Wolford and Dave Moskowitz in particular, and they've have started us installing. They've actually installed it, but they came to us to ask if they could installing the birdhouses over here at the Civic Center Pond and the Butterfly Park and down at the Dallenbach Lakes. So we're working with those folks, and they're real excited to do all those kinds of things. And so to that extent, I don't know if you'd want to call it managing the wildlife, but certainly dealing with the wildlife and making things a little bit better in the park system.
When can people get access to the parks?
Most of the parks are open dawn to dusk, and where we have lighted facilities, we go to 10 o'clock. So if that's what your question was.
Yes.
Yeah. And in some of the areas that are natural greenways, for example, there's a lot of fishing out at Farrington Lake. There's a lot, an unimproved lot on the corner of Reeve Avenue and Church Lane, where people launch boats, and they have access to Farrington Lake, down to get access to the Dallenbach Lakes, which is a huge body of water with a lot of good fish and a lot of wildlife over there. We have access behind, over in the Crystal Springs parking lot. There's a small boat launch area there, and it's very active. In the summertime, you'll see 4 or 5 trailers that in the parking lot where the folks are out have launched their boat and are out fishing.
Do we own our own parks, or are they owned by the county or the state?
The township owns the parks. There are some county facilities. For example, Tamarack Golf Course is a county golf course that's in East Brunswick. But as far as the township parks, the 13 that I talked about, and the 13 developed parks and 3 undeveloped parks, those are township-owned facilities.
How safe are our parks?
I'd like to, I think they're real safe. First of all, we don't have a lot of incidences with issues regarding safety. We were, I don't want to say like pioneers in developing a park ranger system program before any other town really had one, and became the model for other towns to start their own park ranger program. But we have rangers that patrol the parks at night and on weekends and offer assistance to people, discourage people that may be violating a township ordinance regarding parks. And so I think they're really safe. Like I said, we haven't really had any instances of that kind of behavior or those kinds of issues over the years.
Greg, we talked about trees earlier. Our parks have a tremendous variety of trees. Can you talk about that a little bit?
Yeah, our parks, there's Kentucky and New Jersey, and we're right in the, almost, not in the middle, but almost in the middle of New Jersey. There's many, many varieties that are northern species and southern species, and we have them all. Plus, there's a little, not a well-known fact, we're the northernmost part of the Pine Barrens. That's why we had such a gypsy moth infestation, because the gypsy moth followed up the Pine Barrens because of the little difference in temperature. So that, like Helmetta Park and everything, is that's the Pine Barrens. Off Hart's Lane, that's the northernmost part of the Pine Barrens. We have many trees. Well, Great Oak Park is one of my favorite parks. And that tree is well over 200 years old. That's a black oak.
Is that the oldest tree in town?
Close to it, I would say. What's happened with that tree is it's become prominent as these older trees, like Monmouth County, they lost a tree. Up in Union County, they lost a buttonwood tree. So this great oak, is, because it's younger, is grown in prominence. And plus, great oak is actually an arboretum. There's over 70 different varieties of trees in there.
Yes.
There's from but they're in the scientific name, from Acair maple to Zelkova. So you can just work your way around. It's amazing. That's an amazing park, one of my most favorite. But all through town, you'll see different trees. Peach Orchard neighborhood with those those regal oaks up and down the streets, over a hill with the oaks. Barclay Court off Dunham Corners Road in the spring with all the Yoshino cherries in bloom. It just takes your breath away. And even in our park office, we have two Dawn Redwood that were clones of the original ones that were found in 1949 in a valley in China. And the National Arboretum gave those two trees to us. So we can grow anything here, north and south of the range.
Are there any certain type or variety of tree that you really recommend for people to be able to plant?
Well, we can almost plant anything. We want diversity in our population. We don't want all the same tree.
I've seen bamboo growing there.
Oh yeah, yeah. There's bamboo, but yeah, you want diversity because say the Asiatic longhorn beetle has attacked in Carter Red and Linden is coming up the turnpike, and it's attacked certain trees. So you want the diversity. So if it does hit us, we won't lose all our trees, and we have that, and we've planned on that over the years.
Why is it so important to have trees in town?
We're at Tree City, USA for the 32nd year this year.
Right.
So,
What does that mean, Tom?
National Arbor
it's a designation by the National Arbor Day Foundation that's offered to towns across the country, and to qualify, you have to meet certain criteria. And one is to spend at least $2 per capita for the population of your town. You have to have an official Arbor Day ceremony in town. You have to have an ordinance that protects your trees in town, and an official proclamation recognizing Arbor Day.
Let me just come in here real quick. Tom had the foresight 32 years ago. There's only two towns in New Jersey that are older, have this recognition, and Tom was one of the first to do that.
But I mean, there's a lot of benefits in terms of property values, providing shade, and there's been all kinds of studies on that. The heat effect that the trees help diminish in terms of reducing the heat generated by blacktop and pavement and that kind of thing, and just the aesthetic of the town. It's kind of what makes East Brunswick, I think, a unique. One of the things that make East Brunswick a unique place to live. The different kinds of trees, and you could tell, I think, when you come into town, that somebody cares about the trees. That somebody planted these trees, and not only planted them, are still caring for them. And so I think trees are good for East Brunswick and for the community.
Well, we have trees give us oxygen. That's important.
Yes, I was just going to mention that.
And they sequester carbon. So when we breathe in, we breathe oxygen. We breathe out carbon. Plus, we have the traffic, but the trees trap the carbon, sequester it. And then another beautiful thing about East Brunswick is we have lichen on the trees. You know, people say, "What are those patches on my tree?" And when it rains, they get green, and then in the winter, they turn gray. Well, that's algae and fungus in a symbiotic relationship. But that's a sign of fresh air. You see that like out in the Cape or something. We have lichen all over our trees.
So that's great to know, because if people are doing, especially if they're doing activities that involve a lot of cardio, if they're running or if they're playing soccer or baseball, football in the parks, and they're doing a lot of runnings, having a lot of oxygen in the air is going to be very conducive to being able to play better.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely. Mm-hmm.
You know, and throughout our town, we have so many cars that come through town. Everybody complains about the cars and Route 18 and the traffic. But we don't realize that a lot of the effects of that are being counteracted by all the greenery.
Mm-hmm. Yes.
Yeah.
Tom, you talked a little bit about some of the activities, you know, soccer, baseball, fishing, things like that. What other activity go on inside the parks that people don't know about them?
Yeah, there's a couple of things that I want to mention. The socialization that parks offer, and in particular, two sort of recent developments that we've done. I've been involved in the community garden that we opened last year, and that was a huge success. Again, working with the Environmental Commission to provide a community garden here, right out here at the Civic Center, where people who don't have a plot of land to garden can now, for a nominal fee, rent a 10 by 10 plot and plant their garden, whether it be vegetables or flowers or whatnot. It was a huge success, sold out immediately the first year, 100 plots. And so this year, the mayor is committed to expanding it, and we expanded it twice as much, and that has sold out.
Oh,
so, but that, you know, I've stopped by there when people are planting, and it's a tremendous socialization of people sharing what their expertise and tips on what they grow, and sharing fruit and vegetables that were grown there. It's a great community garden, and very successful. And again, working with the Environmental Commission, they've done a super job in doing it. We did some rototilling and put in a water line, but they really pulled it all together. And the other one, recent years, is the dog park out at Heavenly Farms, and there are a lot of dog parks going up in municipal park systems, and I don't have a dog, but I know from friends that it's a great place to meet people and socialize with your neighbors of the community, and your dogs have fun, and people have developed friendships that they go year-round. It's not just a summer thing. Throughout the winter, we've had to plow that lot in the middle of the winter because people want to get to the dog park. And that's true too with our, it's amazing how many people use our parks or our bikeways, and for example, the walkway right here at the Civic Center around the pond during the winter months. We get done with a storm. We had a rough winter this year, plowing snow, and almost within a few days after clearing up all the roads, we'll start to get calls, if we haven't started already. Hey, when are you going to clear the bikeway on Riders Lane? When are you going to clear the walkway around the Civic Center pond? Because people want to, even in the wintertime, they want to get out, and that's their form of exercise, and they want to get out and walk, and we provide that for them. So there's all kinds of things that are happening throughout the year in the park system. Sometimes people think parks is kind of a fair weather thing, a spring to fall operation, but there are things that are going on year round. We have at Bicentennial Park, we have a handball wall there, 4 handball walls, and there's a group of men and women that play out there, and they've been playing for at least 25 years, and they're out there every Saturday and every Sunday throughout the winter. If I don't get around to clearing it, the court off, they'll clear it off. They'll bring their hand snow blowers, they'll bring their shovels, they'll clear it. They're there every Saturday and Sunday morning, enjoying that socialization and getting a good cardiac workout at the same time.
I've seen people flying model airplanes.
That's another one. Yeah, exactly. Heavenly Farms. That just started. It's a kind of a new thing that's going on.
Fantastic. They set up tents, and it's a big event.
It's a great group, real nice guys that we've worked with out there that are flying these airplanes. They're amazing what they can do, radio-controlled airplanes and helicopters. It's just, I've stopped and watched them and talked to them, and they're very enthusiastic and passionate about their hobby. And so that's the kind of the neat thing about the park system, that it's ever evolving. It's not just a playground and a baseball field. There's so much more going on throughout the park system.
Tom, you must feel like a proud father, you know, with 13 children, if you will, that you're responsible for. Greg talked about Great Oak Park being one of his favorites. Is there one that you know, no parent wants to play favoritism among their kids. Is there one that you like more than another?
That's really hard because they're all unique. I happen to like, I think Bicentennial is special to me because when I started working for the town in 1975, that was the first park that I was involved in the development. And there's a lot that goes in developing a park like that. We have a great engineering staff, planning and engineering staff here in town. We hire consultants. We get the neighbors, all the neighbors involved. Whenever we do a park project, we send out letters to all the neighbors, and we have public meetings with the neighbors and go through that entire process to build the park. But it's nice to be some part of that. And so Bicentennial is probably a little special to me because it was the first park that I got involved in when I first came to East Brunswick. But they're all beautiful.
Is there anything in the works for the future for our park system?
Well, yeah, we are, 2 things that come to mind. We're working on a renovation to Pine Ridge Park up in the northern section of town. That's a park that was built in the late 60s, and really we've renovated all our parks in terms of ADA access, and that's the last one to be renovated. And so we've got plans to do that. Some funding is in place. We're looking for some additional funding, but that's kind of right on the horizon. And again, worked with all the people up there in the Pine Ridge neighborhood to develop that park. What would you like to see? What wouldn't you like to see? And very productive meetings out there. So that's happening. And then we're also working on a level playing field out at Heavenly Farms. It's going to be a field turf ball field that kids with disabilities can play baseball or softball, and they can actually operate and maneuver their wheelchairs around on this surface because there's no dirt there. It's all the field turf product there, and they have one over in I believe it's Roosevelt Park. In the county, it's been very successful, and we've always run actually the Little League has always run a challenger league for kids that might have disabilities in playing ball, and it's very successful. So this is going to be a great addition to Heavenly Farms and a great addition to their playing experience. And
does your department accept volunteers from the community to be able to help in any capacity, or do they have to be employed by the township?
No, we accept volunteers all the time. I don't think we could do everything that we do without volunteers. And we always have people that are calling to ask what they can do. We are involved with a lot of scouts, scout projects, Eagle Scout folks. Guys that are going for their Eagle Scout certification are looking for a project, and they've been doing some fantastic projects. They're built a tool shed for the community garden. They built another shed over at the Butterfly Park to house some of the turf equipment there. Another young man built an Osprey Tower in Keystone Park. I'm working with a group now, a young guy that wants to build a shade structure over at the dog park. So these are not just little cleanups. We're going to clean the shoreline kind of thing. These are real neat projects that are going to be around for a long time and have a lasting effect in the park system.
And Tom, we have to wrap things up quickly. If somebody would like more information about the park system and the different services and benefits that it offers, how would they get in contact with your department?
Well, they can call my office, 732-390-6884, and speak to me directly. We put information on the township's website, and we use EBTV to make certain announcements or different events that we have going on. So we try to get the word out.
Tom Williams, Director of Parks and Public Works, Greg Hurley, Supervisor of Parks, thank you so much for everything that you've done for so many years to make our park system so beautiful and such a valued part of our community.
Thanks, Ken.
This concludes another segment of the East Brunswick Advisory Health Council's Wellness Spotlight. I'm Dr. Ken Friedman, President of the Advisory Health Council, reminding you that wellness works when you work it.